one of the reasons I really liked shoes and whatnot, because more than likely they're over $50 each. I'd hit my spending goal much more easier. And when I
Yeah.
started kind of branching myself in the grocery, it was like, you buy 60 units of something and you hardly even hit $100,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's that kind of con to it. But at the same time, if you add the groceries with your shoes, with your beauty, and diversify everything, you don't have all your eggs in one basket, and overall helps your business.
And let me add one more thing to that I've learned. Not only are you diversifying your risk, but it also, for me, let's say now I'm selling 10 different, instead of one thing, and I'm selling 10 different things all across different categories, things I've never sold.
Right.
Inevitably, some of these are going to hit way faster than I could have predicted from a Keepa chart. And
Right.
now I'll go deep on that and look more into that segment, that brand, that site. Whereas with one, you only get feedback on that one, good or bad.
And you have a competitive advantage now because someone else could have looked at that Keepa and straight away, whereas you found that you're selling more than the Keepa initially even told you. So those test buys and your own data is monumental over just Keepa data.
100%.
That'll be the one thing over Keepa data is your data, right?
Yep, 100%.
So don't quote me on that. So, so speaking of which, I know you were saying earlier on repricing and whatnot. Do you manually reprice, or what softwares do you use as far as repricers and other stuff?
Yeah, so I'll give you the real quick rundown. Huge advocate for having a repricer. Like, I think everyone should have that from basically day one. Once you have 50 products in stock, right? It's going to pay for itself. I started with Aura, which was a rule-based repricer, very manually intensive, not AI. So then I was really interested in AI, right? And I was put onto Seller Snap, and looking back on it, it's a fortune. It's $500. Yeah. And there was something that I didn't like about it that happened when they had a glitch and how they handled it. So it kind of forced my hand to look elsewhere. I found Profit Protector Pro, where I've landed and where I am now, AI-based, $65 a month, and gets the job done for me. So I have no complaints. And as far as if you want, I can explain like my repricing strategy or whatever too at some point.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I think how do you like the AI over just the rule base? Because I still am on rule base. I use Be Cool, by the way.
Yeah,
I started with Be Cool and I never really migrated from just because I liked it. But I have been kind of hesitant jumping over to AI because I don't know if it's worth it. What's your comparing the two? How do you feel?
I was thinking about this recently, and I actually made a YouTube video that I'm going to release. But basically, an analogy I can give with sports, right? Think about basketball, right? Okay, if you're playing the 2 guard and the coach says when the ball's over there, you are to be in this exact spot, right? Top of the key, let's say on the left side. No variation. That's it. When the ball is here, you're supposed to be here, right? And so it'll work like systematically, I suppose. But rather than that, why not let the player know when the ball is here, be in this general area, but also read the whole court so that you can adjust accordingly and make an educated decision.
Right.
So that's kind of what I was thinking is the best way I can compare rule-based to AI-based, right?
Yeah.
And rule-based, I think, is a little more rigid. I also think it was more manually intensive repricing.
Yeah. True.
Okay.
True. Yeah.
So I bought back some time on the AI aspect, and at least with Profit Protector Pro, there's so many different rules that, like, if you want an item to not just be at the bottom of your price, well, there's click of a button. You could do that, right?
Right.
For me, what I found really quickly is just like I set my minimum where I am comfortable with something selling, and I set my maximum at a realistic number. And each item is different. And I strongly encourage people to do a deep reprice every couple weeks. And it's not about what you paid for it. It's not about emotion. It's what is happening now. And in the near future, it's irrelevant what was happening and what you bought it for, unless you're predicting based on data. That's where it's going back to.
Yeah. It's kind of like, don't be stubborn. If you see the trend going downward, don't be stubborn and say, oh, I'm just going to keep my price here. It'll eventually go back up. Sometimes you just got to follow the data,
Just in general, with all of Amazon, none of it to me is emotion. It's like strictly data. That's it.
To the point where even when I find a proper lead online, my first thought in my head is like, how many other people are finding this right now and buying this with me? And 100%. It kind of carries on over to your listings and then to your repricer. And you got to really take that into effect when you're repricing and pricing in general.